Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the recap show of Week 9. The Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cowboys lose a tough battle game against the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia, 28-23, a game that Philadelphia had in hand, 28-17, and the Cowboys roared back with a chance to win. In the closing seconds, having first and goal from the 6-yard line and ending up having their last play from the 27-yard line. We will dig into all of that, the inches and inches that were this game, because this was a game that brought me right to Al Pacino's speech, a game of inches. I've never witnessed or been part of a game that had so many ebbs and flows and plays that were literally inches from going one way or the other. We were going to record and go live on YouTube immediately after the game, but Aidan, even though he won, was too scared to face me for some reason. I was willing to go pregame, halftime, and postgame live for all of you people, but Aidan was selfish and went to a bar. Aidan, how are you?
First of all, you don't need me to go live. You can go on TikTok and it's only one person. You don't need me around to do any of those things.
I have a tiny little human running around and screaming, so it takes enough for me just to watch the game.
We did FaceTime at multiple points yesterday. Loved Emma having the green and blue bows in her hair. That was fantastic.
She was very angry with you when you FaceTime in the game and could not see you.
Couldn't see me?
No, it just said an A on the screen.
Oh, I didn't know it was doing that. I don't think I had good service.
See. She got very mad.
I feel so bad. We were like, oh, she looks so cute. And then she was just like, look at this idiot who's not even on the screen.
Yep. But congratulations.
Thank you. 8-1 going into the bye. I couldn't feel any better than I am right now. I said this before.
I'd be a little concerned about the injuries.
I would be concerned about Dallas Goedert, but it just feels kind of like deja vu. And I think we're a little bit healthier than we were at the beginning of the season. I said this before. In May, if you would have told me 8-1 going into the bye, beat the Cowboys, 2.5 games up in the division, 1 seed in the conference, gauntlet schedule coming up, and that's where you're at, that's your spot, 100 times out of 100 you take that.
I mean, they locked up the division.
Yeah.
The division's pretty much locked up. I mean, I could see it being a 1.5 game lead once they play again in Dallas. Because, I mean, Dallas should run now. I mean, playing the Giants now, Daniel Jones is lost. Darren Waller's on IR. Tyrod Taylor's not even there to play. Then they have the Panthers, and they have the Commanders and the Eagles again. So they should go on a run here. I think they have a chance to be 9-3, 10-3. And the Eagles have a chance to drop maybe 1 or 2 of those gauntlet games, I think, possibly. So I think it could catch up, but I mean, Cowboys went from like a 28% chance to win the division down to 16 after last night.
If this is the beauty of a win like that, going into the bye week, I've already looked up the schedule and started doing like win or loss for the rest of the season and calculating the scenarios with my boy math mind of what it would take to win the division at this point. And I'm already thinking like, oh, Chiefs primetime on the road. What type of Chiefs game are we getting? Their offenses look shaky. Next week, Bills. Ooh, I liked that before the season started. I like it even more now. I was thinking about, will we be up enough for the Dallas game in that brutal stretch? Or will we be like, oh, coming off the 49ers game, depending on how that goes, or we're going to have a mental letdown. I did all of that this morning. I love winning games like this because then it puts me like, I'm breaking down 6 games at a time in my brain right now.
Yep. And it's very strange how I feel after this game. I don't think I felt like this after a loss. I can't remember when, because people, my wife asked me afterward, like, are you angry? Are you sad? And I can't like put it full into focus. Like, I think the shock of the end of the game kind of controlled the emotion of anger or sadness too much. And then, I sit back and reflect, like, they're not that far off. They really aren't. They're not. They can, okay, if you don't think they can hang with the Eagles and they didn't hang with them in Philadelphia, you don't think they can beat them in Dallas?
Here's the problem. And I've made this comparison. You guys are the Sixers of the NFL. I can say this because I do the same thing with Embiid and the Sixers that you guys do with Dak.
But I'm not saying they're going to win the championship. I'm not saying they're going to win the NFC. I'm saying they can play with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they're not that different.
they're not the goal isn't to not be that far off. Okay. The goal is to win and be a competitor for a championship.
I get that, but I'm saying coming out of that
like
game,
the 6th straight year.
Coming out of that game, I can be upset that they lost, but also take positives out of the game.
All right. So here's the thing: you can always take positives out of the game, and they should. I think there was good things, especially
CeeDee Lamb having 200 yards against your defense. Yeah, I think that's a good thing.
Yes. Okay. Yes. This is the perfect thing. This
Jake
is my
Ferguson
perfect
looking
analogy.
like a true tight end one. Yeah, absolutely. But then you take asshole things of throwing it to Jalen Tolbert on 4th down or throwing it to Schoonmaker on 4th and goal.
There you go. That's it.
Of course.
These things aren't going to change. This isn't like they're so close. If he just fixes this in year 8, it's not going to happen. This is who they are. This is what he does.
Because things have been changing the last 2 weeks in the offense. The cuffs have been off Dak Prescott the last 2 weeks compared to the start of the season. Mike McCarthy has been opening it up. I mean, Dak has looked very good the last 2 weeks, and he's letting him go on the move. And whether that be Dak just taking over and using his legs and moving and not listening to Mike, I'm okay with that. Or Mike and Brian Schottenheimer are somewhat changing the offense, which I would also be happy with. You can't say Dak Prescott was bad yesterday.
I didn't say he was bad. He wasn't good enough to win. It's the only thing that matters. We are 8-1. They are 5-3. He didn't do enough. I know he threw. Listen, 29 for 44. How many yards? It was 375. 375, no 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. If you just look at the stat line, which is what you guys are doing, it's like, oh yeah, he played great. He played awesome. They lost. That's it. Like, he didn't make enough plays to win the game.
Was he the issue with the with the bullshit pass interference on Stephon Gilmore for 17 yards at the end?
Oh my God, we're not doing the penalty.
I'm not blaming the officials for the game, but there is more than just the quarterback that you blame for this game. Why did the Bradbury penalty get picked up for no reason?
On the last drive, it did not get picked up. We had 60 penalty yards.
No. On the drive before, when he blatantly hit Gallup in the face, hands to the face, coming off the line, they threw the flag and then they picked it up. Was that Dak Prescott?
I just can't.
Was Dak Prescott the reason why Micah Parsons got held? And you saw it on national TV.
Oh my God!
Was Dak Prescott the reason Michael Gallup dropped the ball on 3rd and 3 at the 6? Was Dak Prescott, is he the problem that Schoonmaker ran his route like an asshole?
Yep.
Yes. How is that Dak Prescott? That's coaching.
Well, okay. Then it's a coaching thing. Whatever it is, it's not enough to win the game. Like, at some point, it's just got to be like, you know what? The best player on my team made enough plays to win the game. Like, my best player beat 13th year Brandon Graham to the end zone. Like, at some point, it has to be that. And I just feel like we do this again and again and again, where it's like, it must be coaching. But
I wouldn't say
didn't run the right route on 3rd down
yesterday. What? I would say your scheme won the game. I wouldn't say Jalen Hurts was your best player and won the game yesterday. He made one great throw.
He limped out of halftime and drove them 2 straight times down the field for touchdowns. That's it.
Running the ball. Your offensive line played really well.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
He just on Jalen Hurts
to win the game. What?
Teams, it's not just the defense for Dallas didn't show up in multiple occasions yesterday.
Both things can be true, that the team has to be better.
I know, but you're saying it's solely on Dak.
I'm not. No. I did not say it's solely on Dak, but I feel like you guys go down the same path where it's like, oh, he came so close.
They don't, because if you look at Cowboys Twitter and if you listen to the radio, 85% of the people are blaming Dak. So that's not true about Cowboys fans.
Really? Because I feel like I have I only see from the Birds versus Boys timeline. And most of the people we follow are pretty timeline. Educated.
Come on my timeline. It's multiple people calling for Dak.
But you got to get rid of the but. Like, there just can't be he played well but anymore. They either win or they lose. Are they 5-3? Yes.
I don't agree.
Are the Eagles 8-1? Yes. Like, at some point, it has to matter that when we talk about who outperformed who, Jalen Hurts, Dak Prescott, look at the stats. At some point, it has to matter that they're 8-1 again, and he's 24-2 in his last 26 regular season starts. Like, at some point, that has to matter.
But
And
it
it can't
also
just be
matters
like,
that
oh, well, he
they're a
played better.
very
And if
good
someone
team.
so like ran his route and got into the end zone, like at some point, the best player just needs to make a good play.
And he made multiple good plays yesterday.
But not enough. But not
Okay.
enough.
The defense didn't make enough plays. The
They
Eagles
did
have
not.
been turning the ball over at will, and the Cowboys defense did not get a turnover yesterday. Also, the breaks, and if you say no, the breaks, and I'm not saying refereeing. No. I'm just saying the flow of the game. You fumbled 4 times, and Dallas didn't fall on one.
True.
Those are those type of games where it was not. I mean, Dak couldn't fall. Sam Williams destroyed Jalen Hurts on that, and Jalen just happened to fall on it. Swift fumbled twice. They had 3 doofuses all around the ball. Like, things like that happen in football games too. It's not just on Dak in this game. That's all I'm saying.
I think we're close to agreeing. Like I feel like you think I'm
I'm
putting
just
the
gonna start
entire
hitting the
game on
table
Dak
again to
Prescott,
piss
and
you
I'm
off.
not. I think from like a point of like why the Eagles won, red zone efficiency, they finally like cleaned up their act in the red zone, not fumbling within the 5-yard line. Always a good plan. Kenny Gainwell also being the red zone back again and scoring a touchdown. I love this commitment to this bit. Hilarious. The fact that happened last week where he fumbled, DM'd the guy, and then came back and scored on the first drive. Like, that we should have seen that one coming, to be honest. And I don't think that they were crisp enough, but for the most part, I thought they played a really clean game, especially on offense. At the end, if they would have fumbled that ball when A.J. Brown and DeAndre Swift ran into each other, and the Cowboys recovered, like you said, we're having a totally different conversation today, because that was just stupidity in the game's biggest moment. They didn't have the fuck you drive that we talk about all the time, where they go 6 minutes in the fourth quarter. And I think a lot of that was the Cowboys defense and ability to get pressure. I listened to Sirianni's press conference. I liked his answer about why they took a deep shot on 3rd and 3. He was like, usually they're protecting the sticks on 3rd and 3. They're not protecting over to the top. That's why we took the shot. It was a good ball. A.J. Brown just didn't see the ball. Fair enough, So in that aspect, that was some of the mistakes that the Eagles made. But I'd say one of the cleanest games that they've played so far this year. That between that and the Dolphins game, cleanest game that they played so far.
Yeah, I mean, no turnovers. The offensive line looked good. They were able to run the ball at times when they needed to. And I mean, I think they won the game on the opening drive in the third quarter to just take control of the game, go down and score. Even though they let Dallas back in the game and they tried to give it to them. The Cowboys just didn't want to take it. I mean, first and goal from the 6, false start, first and goal from the 11, sack, delay a game, finish it on the 27-yard line to CeeDee Lamb. But like we said, there's situations in the game where you almost just force it to your playmakers, right? On fourth down, and he did most of the game, right? I mean, CeeDee Lamb had a career day of catches and yards. He got the ball all the time, but there were just moments in the game where, whether it was the play caller or whatever it was. But I did like the fact that we did see Michael Gallup get benched in this game after he had that drop. And it seems that Jalen Tolbert's kind of moving into that wide receiver 3 spot, even though I will give him credit. Gallup made 2 big catches in the second half of the game to, try and will this team to a win, but it just came up short.
I think a lot of the stuff we talked about this week on our show and our show with RJ and BLG came to the forefront in that game. We kind of called this almost to a T. A lot of the stuff that you just brought up. So originally Jake Ferguson, like the tight end matchup, great tight end matchup. And for a variety of reasons now, because Dallas Goedert's going to be out for at least a month with the broken forearm. His catch on the first drive of the game, I thought was really underrated. 4th down, aggressive going for on 4th and 3. He makes a good catch. You talked about Gallup maybe like taking a back seat, kind of, Tolbert taking over, which happened. Situational awareness was a big thing for both of us going into the game. I think for the most part, both teams were pretty good at that. I just talked about the Eagles in the red zone and, kind of being more aware, better play calls. The touchdown to A.J. Brown, I thought was a really good play that's had success before and had success against the Cowboys before. So this game kind of played out, and we almost got the score right too. Like we both knew it was going to be one possession. I think
Devontae Smith had 3 catches, right? But he had 1 long touchdown. So, I mean, it was close to my 2 for 92 and a touchdown.
True. Yeah. 3 catches. He had the long touchdown. Yeah. Honestly, it really played out exactly how we thought
And
it
I
was
mean, how
going to
about
be.
me? I was calling that the tight ends were going to be the factor. And like
Mhm.
you said, Goddard had the big catch in the beginning. Fergie had the touchdown. Schoonmaker just literally in half an inch from the touchdown, and then Goddard shattering his forearm. So I was,
Yeah.
they
We
they were they were a big part of the game
They
in
were a
good
big
and
part of
bad
the game.
ways.
Them and all of their bones were a big part of this performance.
I thought his wrist snapped, and he was holding his hand. I was like, "Ooh!" I thought
I
his
thought he
wrist was
broke his
going through.
collarbone again, like last
Mm,
year. It was just he went down awkwardly. He's an awkward faller. I've
yeah.
noticed that.
Oh, he's like
Sometimes he gets tackled, and it's just like, whoa.
he's just one of those awkward looking dudes from the Diegos.
Yeah, he also he like breaks through tackles sometimes. I'm like, okay, now go down.
Yeah.
Like I feel like he's like, all right, I'm gonna wait until 3 people gang tackle me and punch
Yep.
me in the face before I sit down and get to the grass. I'm like, why don't we just get down and get to the
Yeah.
grass?
Just go down.
Yeah, I
Speaking of
know
somebody who
last year.
just goes down, seems like these days is Tony Pollard. And we have much more problems than Dak Prescott right now. Can't run the ball. 73 yards in this game
We
for
also
a
call
team that the coach said, I want to run the damn ball to rest my defense. But you and I said into this game, it's probably not going to be a running game. It's going to be a slinging game, and Dak threw it for 44 times. So we were correct on that. But
and it worked. That's what
it
we
did
thought.
work.
That first series of the game, they run it the first 2 plays. It's 3rd and 6. The Eagles get pressure, 3 and out to start the
Pass.
game.
Run. And I think in all 3 of their losses this year, they've started their first drive of the game, run, pass, and have gone 3 and out.
Dumb, first of all. Welcome to the 2023. Why are you
Mm-hmm.
running 2 straight times to start the game? Ridiculous. But
But
that
then you
did
give the
play
ball to
out the
Rico
way we thought.
Dowdle one time, and he has an 18-yard run. Yes, it was brought back by I will say questionable hold, but it was a hold. It was no. Listen to me. I'm saying at the moment it looked questionable from the angle, and then they showed the other angle, and he was definitely holding. That's what I'm saying.
Thank
Pick
you.
your head back up. But you didn't give him another opportunity, right?
I was kind of
Or at the
shocked by that.
goal line, huh?
I was shocked by that. Just
He
I feel
runs
like
hard.
yeah, and speed. Like I think speed can neutralize a lot of what the Eagles do.
And they're just banging their head against the wall and these dives with power that are if you're going to do that towards the goal line, then put Hunter Lipke in, right? The fullback. He's gotten the ball 3 times this year on short down. It's 4th or 3rd, and he's converted all of them. So maybe do what works instead of just like literally banging your head against the wall. Nope, let's run it up the gut with power. It's not working. Okay. It just time to change. And I don't know. Your right tackle is having a bad game. Whether that be just him or a combination of him and the pass rushers that he's going against, I don't know. Let me think about this. Maybe give him some help. Maybe chip off the edge. Maybe put a tight end over there. You drafted this tight end in the 2nd round in Schoonmaker, who's not a prototypical pass catcher, but you throw to him at 4th and goal but he's known as a blocker. Put him out there. What are we doing? I'm not saying on an island by himself like the 49ers did, but I'm saying help your right tackle with a tight end or going out and chipping. I don't know. That's just maybe I'm an idiot.
No, that goes back to the situational awareness that we talked about. It's like you got to adjust mid-game. But again, because you guys are the Sixers with Doc Rivers, you don't make in-game adjustments. So this continues to be the point. Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, though, just awesome. Like the most underrated duo ever. And I saw today 6 more pressures for Sweat. He obviously had the big sack at the end of the game to force them back to the 21-yard line with 5 seconds left. But he's now has as many pressures as Micah Parsons, and they're tied for the league lead. And I think we talk about Hassan Reddick being underrated a lot. Sweat, too. I mean, the combination of those 2 guys. And I think they've bailed the secondary out a lot. And they did. This might have been the biggest bailout of the season so far. They were the federal government bailing out big banks in 2008. It was that big last night because we gave the Cowboys 65 yards worth of penalty yardage on the final drive with 50 seconds and no timeouts to get them down the field. And both cornerbacks left the game. We had Sidney Brown playing outside corner, which he's never done before, with the game on the line, following CeeDee Lamb. It had disaster written all over it, and Josh Sweat gets home. Like, we cannot stress enough how good those guys have been.
And they just didn't, I don't know, they didn't attack that enough. I know there was the sack, but like in the Patriots game, Gonzalez went out. Next play, they immediately attacked his replacement. And I was looking for that, and it just, blew up in the face with the the false start, and then the biggest play was not the sack. It was the false start on
Yep.
Tyler Smith beforehand, because from the 6-yard line, Dak can get the ball out fast, right?
Yeah.
And you can almost negate that pass rush. From the 11, you have to wait another half a second to let those guys run their routes and get in the end zone in that situation, which then just, it was a half a second too long for Terrence Steele to hold up.
You know what I'm thinking about now, and it's kind of weird to think this way. Jalen Carter had the offside, which was so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Him getting started early, I feel like almost made it Tyler Smith get started early on the next play where he gets the false start. So it's like the chaos of final moments of big games where, yes, he screwed up, but it almost made Tyler Smith screw up by making him start early too and forcing
it
back
was
to
pure
the
chaos. The last 10 minutes of that game was just pure chaos.
I thought this game was really good for the league because it's two rivals, both are successful this season. Primetime game comes down to the end. I think how often do these big games live up to the hype? And I felt like that did. And it's really big for
the last two times they've met did. On Christmas Eve, it did too.
Christmas Eve last time was awesome too.
And I think the game before that in Philly was, it was a lower scoring game, but it was closer than people remember with Cooper Rush.
For sure. I think you can just tell that these teams are going to be good for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's good when every game like that is starting to be like must-see television. I think it's really, really good for the league to have two rivals who you're like, okay, it is living up to the hype.
And I don't know about you, but it was actually pretty funny. I completely forgot other games were on. I almost thought it was like a Sunday night game.
Yep. Yeah. The game ended. And part of it is it gets dark at 5:00 now. So it did throw me off. I'm like, oh yeah.
But I was like, oh, the Giants are playing right now. I got an alert about something. I was like, oh, I didn't I had no idea. Usually I'll put like another TV down and I have red zone. I completely was just zoned
it was Eagles only. Eagles, Cowboys only. I did not know that Daniel Jones tore his ACL until today. I had no idea that happened and that game occurred. It was like
and now the Cowboys open up as a 15.5 point favorite against the Giants.
They're what?
15.5 point favorite against the Giants this week.
Another important thing, looking ahead schedule wise, we're 8-1. The season ends with the Giants twice and the Cardinals. I think they have 3 wins combined for our last 3 opponents.
Isn't it amazing that the schedule makers? It's just interesting that it's week 9 and you're done with the Commanders. We haven't even played the Commanders once. We'll be done with the Giants next week. You haven't even have you played the Giants? You haven't even played the Giants. It's just
we don't play them until late December.
You guys always play division games so close to each other. I feel like
we do.
The Commanders were within 3 weeks. The Giants are going to be within 3 weeks.
I don't know how that happens, but you're right. It's a little weird.
And it's always the Commanders on the front end, always the Giants on the back end. We're kind of the opposite.
The Eagles Cowboys always get spaced out, but I feel like that's television wise. They're like, all right, Fox has this one. NBC wants their hands on it for the ratings. So it's a month from now. So they got to space them out. But yeah, I thought yesterday was really good for the league, and it was a chaotic ending, which is exactly what you wanted. Like you mentioned it. And I don't even think it was just our fan bases. Nobody else was paying attention to another 4:00 game. It was just our game.
And I would say it was also good for us and this podcast because we've been doing this for 3 years now. I've been watching this rivalry for how long? I literally, and maybe it's just me, tell me if I'm wrong, I can't remember a game when these two played beforehand with the amount of people calling it Birds versus Boys. E-Rock, his Instagram was Birds versus Boys tailgate. And I'm like, I don't think you've ever said that before. And I'm not saying they're stealing. I just I saw the emphasis on that name in this game.
I did too. I had multiple. I was going through Instagram stories of friends, and people were calling it Birds versus Boys, Birds versus Boys Day. I was like, "Hi, that's us. Hello." I was like, "This is phenomenal." I recognized the same thing. I was like, "I don't remember people saying Birds versus Boys before." So
no,
I don't feel like it's not even. We're not that big, but it was a little something. So I was like, this is pretty cool. I feel like this definitely has value to it. And again, I think it's really good that these teams are good. When we started this podcast, it was the year that Dak broke his leg, and it was the COVID year, so there weren't any fans. And it was the last year of Carson Wentz, and we all know how that went. So it was just a disaster. This was just a therapy session, honestly, this podcast. So this us starting the podcast before we even hit record, arguing Dak versus Jalen Hurts is this was the premise of the show. It took 3 years, but we got to arguing about 2 good football teams.
And Kyle Yeomans put it on his Instagram. He did a whole video for the Dallas Cowboys and named it "Birds vs. Boys" too. And
I
I'm like,
saw that. I was like, it's birds versus boys. He has the best like narrator voice, and I
I
was like,
know,
hell yeah,
I
like
know.
this is
I need to
awesome.
just have him narrate our intro.
Yes, I don't
But
know.
yeah, I mean, I think the division is almost out of hand at this point.
I don't.
Almost, I'll say almost.
I was gonna say because this stretch, like we've known it since May that this is going to be not impossible, but it's going to be a tough stretch. Like, there's no chance that the Eagles go undefeated over this next month. Like, the games are too hard. And I think people are forgetting, like, they don't even count the Seahawks as part of this gauntlet. Like, you go 49ers Cowboys, which is probably your two biggest threats in the NFC, and then travel West Coast away against the Seahawks. Like, this is going to be rough. So that's why yesterday was so important to get the job done, and they did. And I was really confident going into the game. I will say this about the Eagles. They usually, like, recognize the moment. Like, that Dolphins game, they were bad against the Jets, and as soon as they lost, I was like, all right, they're winning the next game. Like, it was the Kelly Green primetime night against the Dolphins, and they were so locked in. And I thought, for the most part, they were locked in yesterday, too, minus the 60 penalty yards on the final drive when the Cowboys had no timeouts, and the fact that we almost fumbled the ball away before we even got to that point. But aside from that, they were pretty locked in.
And I will say for Dallas now in the next 3 games they're must wins, right? Giants, Panthers, Commanders at home. You have to win all 3 of those games, especially like I said on the mixtape earlier this week, losing this game against the Eagles, like it's gonna happen, right? They're one of the best teams in the NFC. You're playing at their home. They're rivals. You usually split, but losing the Arizona game is what is going to come back and haunt this team because after these 3 weeks, right? And the Commanders game is on Thanksgiving, and we know how the Cowboys lately have not shown up on Thanksgiving. So that is not at all a slam dunk. But then they go Seattle, Philly, Bills, Dolphins, Lions, at Commanders to end. That is a brutal way to end this season.
You guys have your own gauntlet.
Yeah, which people aren't talking about. And who knows, week 16, maybe the Lions or maybe the Lions are playing for the 1 seed. So, yeah. So, I mean,
they
never played that well at FedEx. So, nothing.
I don't know if you've seen the Lions schedule. Not difficult. Not very difficult. They're going to be there for the entirety of this stretch.
They have Chargers tonight, Bears, Packers, Saints, Bears, Broncos, Vikings.
There you go.
Cowboys, Vikings.
So the Cowboys. I don't know though. Josh Dobbs, what a fucking legend he is. They have the same thing as the Eagles, where it's
shout out Josh Dobbs on my Twitter account. I just remember the tweet I put out last year about him learning the playbook. I just redid it with the Vikings, and it's going off now.
Yep, that's very funny because he keeps getting put in the same situation.
It's hilarious.
Well, I don't know if this intervention stuck that you guys, I'm the same person. I had the same struggles where I was like, oh, the Sixers, they'll figure it out. It'll happen. Joel Embiid, like, I have an excuse for him this time about why we lost this big game. It'll be okay. He'll figure it out. He's close. You're not close. There's nothing. If you're constantly close, then you're not close. So I hope some of this, I know it's not his fault that he lost the game, but they also lost the game.
So they did.
That is the point that I want to make.
They lost the game.
They lost.
But we literally have a chance to be here in 4 weeks saying that they won the game, and now we're a half a game. So, it happens. When you play good teams, especially division rivals, on the road, shit happens. And a lot of shit happened yesterday.
A lot. That'll be our headline. Eagles, Cowboys, breakdown, reaction. A lot of shit happened.
And not only, and I want to look at the exact sequence here. Obviously, the sequence at the end of the game, right? That the offense, first and goal from the 6, false start, and then you have the sack, and then the game ends on the 27-yard. I mean, that sequence was insane, but I tweeted the sequence that the Dallas defense gave up in the first half was almost worse. And I'm sure you remember this. 2nd and 23 to 3rd and 15 to 4th and 3 to first down to touchdown. That can't happen. So that's a lot of shit, and that's what I'm going to end on.
And I like the aggression. I thought the Eagles set the tone early by going for it there. It's like, if you're going to be in 1st and 20 and get yourself into 4th and 3, we're not settling for field goals in this game. And that came back. They won by 5. If it's 26-20, if they don't score that touchdown there, Cowboys kick the field goal, we're not talking about that sequence at the end of the game with the Josh Sweat sack. But
I'm not even going to bring up why the Cowboys did not challenge the Jalen Hurts being 3 yards short, not an inch short for that 4th and tush push. Again, coaching.
Yeah. Listen, Doc Rivers over there, but you got to adjust. It's okay though. You're close. I'm sure you'll figure it out along the way. You're 8.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We will be doing a full episode looking forward to the Cowboys and the Giants while the Eagles are on the bye week later in this week. But thank you for watching the reaction pod for the Birds versus Boys Week 9 matchup. Again, the Eagles win 28-25 at home, go to 8-1. The Cowboys drop to a very ugly, weird 5-3 record, but take on the Giants this week. Make sure you follow us everywhere you are. We are on YouTube. If you're watching us, hello. Thank you for watching. Smash that subscribe button. Listen anywhere you find your podcast, Google, Spotify, Apple. We are there. And make sure you're following us everywhere on social media at Birds vs. Boys, Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, Tinder, and even TikTok. We will see you then. A lot of shit happened.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upside alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach.
That is?
Be the team you promised me you were going to be this year!
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.